Hello and welcome everybody to the first episode of a speedrun through the ELO. We're going to be taking you through a bunch of different low ELO chess, and we're going to work our way up and hopefully give some tips and ideas and just things to learn about while we're playing. We're going to be starting here, as you can see by the name, we're going to be playing a certain opening for white, and we're going to be starting at 430, so maybe a lot of you are lower ELO and you don't know how to progress or don't know how to play against people lower ELO. So we're going to be doing that today, and we're going to be practicing good principles. So we're going to be playing my favorite opening. Still use it, the London for white, and it's good especially for lower ELO because it can get boring and repetitive, but that's good because you can just kind of memorize certain ideas and tactics, and they're just common throughout basically every rank. So we're going to just be playing here. We're going to play pawn d4. We get the bishop out to f4. Okay, so they're going to copy us. So we're just going to defend our bishop. And the main idea is you want to bring your knight here, usually put the bishop in the center, knight here, sometimes get the queen out over here. Okay, they play e6, that's fine. We're just going to open the pyramid. We're going to try some attack early. A lot of times, especially at lower ELO, if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily lose some pieces early on. And it doesn't mean it always has to be the best move or the best way to play. You want to play your opponent. And sometimes that means just attacking early. So my opponent's actually doing very well. They block with their queen. We're going to bring our knight out. And if they take, it's fine doubling this pawn. You might think it's not good, but you're actually opening up this rook on this file, and a lot of times you're actually putting defense on the square. Okay, so we're going to go here. I actually don't like this bishop because I want to get my bishop to the square. So because the bishop has no places to go, we're actually going to attack it on the side here. Usually you don't want to bring your knights to the side, but in cases like this, when you want to get rid of a certain piece, you can sometimes just do this, and a lot of times it actually is the best way to play. So we're going to bring our bishop out, and we're probably going to castle next. And we're going to see what our opponent's doing. They're actually playing very well, and this is a very good way to play. They're keeping it even. It's probably roughly even. I might have an advantage, but not really because this pawn is actually putting a clamp down on this central square here on e4. So they decide to take. So of course we have nothing else to take with, so we're going to take with the pawn. The knight has no useful squares because it is being covered on everything, and we want to make sure when we castle that we don't walk into a fork. Okay, so they're attacking our bishop. So if we slide back, they're probably intending to push f4. And if they push, we take, and we can take that. So we don't have to worry about being trapped yet, but we do want to make sure that we be aware of stuff like this on h5 that comes. A lot of people get trade happy, or they see one piece and they just want to go for it. Okay, so they took. So we're just going to take back. So I'm actually not going to castle yet because our rook's open. And we're going to see where our opponent wants to go, if they want to castle this way or if they're going to try and castle. Okay, so they keep pushing on h5, but again, you want to look at your pawns. This is the easiest way to blunder, is losing a bunch of pawns too early, and then a lot of them end up just disappearing. So we're going to take on f5 because it's undefended. It's a free pawn. So we don't have to worry about development if there's something better. Okay, so they decide to push again. We actually don't have to do anything about this because if they take, the rook is undefended and we can just take it for free. So we're just going to get our other knight in, and we're going to try to get it to the central square here in e5. And we're going to see what our opponent does next. Okay, so we can take if we want. It ruins their castling rights, so they can't castle anymore. But in this case, it's not that big of a deal because they're going to end up opening up this rook anyways. So I think we're going to get our knight here first. And we're going to see what they do next. We're leaving it so that they can't move either of their rooks, because right now a lot of things are undefended if something were to move. We're going to put the ball back to them in their court and see what they do next. Okay, so they're trying to come to this square. But again, defending pawns. This pawn is currently undefended. They pushed all of these pawns, but failed to defend any of them. And so we're just going to take this free pawn. Again, still can't take because the rook's undefended. We're going to see what's next for the opponent. They might try to go to the square, but again, look at what's defending this square. You always make sure, count how many pieces are defending a square and see if you can actually move there safely without being taken. So if they move the knight here, we take, they take with the pawn, and then we take with the rook, or the bishop, sorry. Okay, so they centralize the rook, but again, pawns, a very big weak spot for especially young, newer players. The pawn on a7 is now undefended. Again, notice how we haven't even castled yet, because there's no point in castling, because if we were to castle, they would open up the line of the rook to our king, and it's actually not that good in this situation. So might even go king e2 at some point. So they move their king. They're trying to get their king out of the way, maybe into the game, but again, pawns being blundered, will take with check. They can either only go there, or they can block with something, or they can go back. But again, if they go there, see this knight that we got into the game? If we were to just castle and develop normally, this wouldn't have been here, but instead we got our knight in, and now there's a fork here. And it's actually checkmate, because it's not just a fork, and we won the game. So notice that early on, we decided to develop all of our pieces, and we didn't castle. We left castling to the end, and we didn't end up actually castling. We traded a bunch off, and rather than castling, we focused on what's more important, and that was winning the pieces, because there's no danger to our king. Our king's safe. There's nothing that's going to happen. A lot of people see ghosts, and they want to castle early because, oh, they're going to get checkmated, and there's a rook here, and it's scary, but there's nothing here. We take the piece. We bring our knight in. Again, we look for tactics they can't take, because we win the rook. We get our knight in, win some more pieces. They lose some pawns, and see, because they could have won something like this, but they're still completely lost. We could have actually then taken, because it's still a fork, because the rook defends. But instead, they decide to go for here, and you might see a fork, but actually, the king is cut off because of this d4 pawn, and there's nowhere for the king to go along here, or here, because the bishop defends, and so taking this is actually a mate, as well as a fork. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully that was a useful first episode, but make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.